What's going on, everybody? It's JetsCentral coming back with another video, and in this one I want to talk about two teams in particular that I believe won the draft. Okay, now I'm not saying the other 30 teams in the league lost the draft. I'm not saying the other teams in the league, there was no other good classes at all. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying these two teams in particular, they really just stood out to me. I think both teams did a phenomenal job of helping out the team today, for this season, as well as building for years to come, really setting the franchises up. And ironically enough, they're both division rivals, the Baltimore Ravens and then AFC North, along with the Cincinnati Bengals. And I just really think both teams really knocked it out of the park. So let's talk about Baltimore first. So the most popular pick was quarterback Lamar Jackson. Okay, 32nd overall, trading back up into the first round to snag the Louisville product. And I gotta say, I love the pick. He doesn't have to play right away. You can tell by the current draft class and what the Ravens did in free agency, bringing in RG3, that this Ravens team, this Ravens front office, this Ravens coaching staff, they want to go in a different direction. Okay, they want to shift gears here. They want to get more explosive. They want to attack the middle of the field. They want to have that dual threat quarterback. They want to stretch the field vertically through the middle of the field, up the seams, with two tight end sets. Okay. This team right now I can tell they're just trying to change their culture. Okay, they're trying to not, it sounds kind of weird, but just not be average. I think the fans, especially, they're getting sick and tired of being 7-9, 8-8, 9-7, and not really being the constant threat to the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC North. Granted, they play them tough every single time they play, along with the Bengals, but nevertheless, the Pittsburgh Steelers win the division every year. I think the Baltimore Ravens, they really did a nice job, Ozzie Newsome and co., setting up this franchise for a new culture. Okay, a whole new setup. And you take a look at their picks overall. You got Lamar Jackson. Okay, that was the obvious one. You take a look earlier in the first round, they selected tight end out of South Carolina, Hayden Hurst, a guy that could come in and play right away. He can stretch the middle of the field. You take a look at Anthony Everett, cornerback out of Alabama. I know I'm jumping around here, not going exactly in order, but I'm just saying these are the names that stuck out to me. Anthony Everett, an Alabama product. He was coached well at Alabama with Nick Saban. Excuse me. He's going to come in and maybe challenge for that number 3 nickel corner spot. So Anthony Everett, I love that pick. He also snagged Orlando Brown. Okay, Orlando Brown was considered by most a round 1 talent. But he had one bad day at the combine. He couldn't put up a lot of bench press or a lot of reps in the bench press. Slow 40, didn't really improve that much at his pro day, and his stock started falling. And it's kind of funny because Orlando Brown's father, I actually believe, played for the Ravens, so it's kind of ironic in that sense. But nevertheless, you're still getting a really talented player at that left tackle position, and who was considered at one time by many a first-round pick. So you could pair him up along with Ronnie Stanley. Maybe Orlando Brown compete initially for that right tackle position and kind of go from there. You also snagged Oklahoma tight end Mark Andrews. Okay, this is another guy that is he struggles with the run, run blocking and whatnot, but in the passing game, this guy's a beast. Okay, you pair him up with Hayden Hurst. Now you have two tight ends that can just stretch the middle of the field, really just put the pressure on the safeties, the defensive backs, really just setting this team up beautifully for an easy transition for either Robert Griffin III or Lamar Jackson. You could run that the read option and just have crossing, a whole bunch of mesh routes, a whole bunch of easy things over the middle of the field for this team. And I know I'm talking a lot about RG3 and Lamar Jackson in the future of the Ravens, but also getting these players in the building, they help out Joe Flacco. So for the Flacco fans out there, obviously he hasn't really performed that well in recent history, but you're still getting great players nonetheless. So yes, it's going to help out Lamar in time, but it's also going to help out Joe Flacco in the now too. So overall, I think Baltimore, they got a ton of starters. Okay, they got a ton of depth. They got a ton of quality players in this one draft class, along with their future, what they hope to be future franchise quarterback. So Baltimore, A+ draft. My hat goes off to the Baltimore Ravens. So next up, their division rival, the Cincinnati Bengals, another team that I think really just, again, hit a home run. Just got so much quality players for where they were picking in the draft. Now, when they picked, it was in their first round, in the first round of that Thursday night, April 26th, they went out and they selected center Billy Price, who a lot of people, including myself, thought was going to fall to a day 2 guy because he injured his pectoral muscle at the combine doing the bench press. Okay, but nonetheless, Billy Price is still he's a great prospect. He's a strong prospect. He's a really nasty style player. He's going to bring attitude to the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line. He's just a really nasty guy. I don't want to compare him to Taylor Lewan because Lewan is a top 5 left tackle. It's a completely different position. But in terms of attitude, Billy Price is Taylor Lewan. I love that and of course you can say the Bengals reached on him. I understand that, but I think the big picture, the Bengals upgraded at center, getting more than just a good player. They're bringing in an attitude. So I love that. Next up, they got safety Jesse Bates from Wake Forest. Jesse Bates, I believe, the 3rd, and this is a guy who I kind of fell in love with late in the draft process. And you pair him up with George Iloka. This is a nice young player. Jesse Bates is a nice young player. You put him with Marvin Lewis. Marvin Lewis has really worked wonders with defensive backs, other than Darqueze Dennard. But I mean, you look at Trey Kirkpatrick, Iloka, Pac-Man Jones, and throughout Marvin Jones' kind of tenure with the team, I've always thought he's had a knack for coaching DBs, or at least scouting them as well. So I love it. Jesse Bates comes in, a highly talented player. He is still a little raw, but he comes in to a nice system with a really good foundation in place. You take a look at Sam Hubbard, a really versatile, really athletic, really raw type of player. I think this guy's talented enough to play, again, in a 3-4 or in a 4-3. He can do a lot of things. He can drop back in coverage. He could rush the passer. He could stop the run, take on double teams. I really like Sam Hubbard from a versatility standpoint, and I think he's going to be a beautiful fit for the Bengals. I actually wanted the Jets to draft him to replace Muhammad Wilkerson. But nonetheless, Cincinnati Bengals got a solid, versatile, raw, and athletic player that can do a ton of different things. Whatever the coaches want him to do, he can go in and execute, which I really like. You take a look at Mark Walton, the running back from Miami. Okay, the Bengals just lost Jeremy Hill, a former LSU product, lost him to, I believe, the New England Patriots. So you have Joe Mixon in place. Now you kind of want, I don't want to say you want a bell cow running back, because I do believe in Mixon, and that is a role that he can maybe fill in the coming seasons. But Mark Walton, being from Florida, I've watched a lot of him, and he always was a threat. Okay, Mark Walton, he's a thumping type of running back. He's a power back in between the tackles, but can also do some damage outside of the tackles, which I really like. And I think Mark Walton in the 4th round, it's a solid pick because of the way the running backs were going in this class. You had Rashard Penny go round 1 along with Saquon Barkley. You look at round 2, you had Darius Geis and Rojo. You had a lot of running backs starting to go early on. For the Bengals to kind of stand pat, go best player available in the early rounds, and then wait to round 4 and to still snag a solid running back that will contribute year 1, I think that's incredible. So wanting to skip a few picks over to the 7th round, Logan Woodside, quarterback of Toledo. This guy, he's not going to come in and challenge Andy Dalton year 1. But what Logan Woodside is he's a winning quarterback with a lot of experience. He's played a ton of college games at Toledo, and I believe he was at Eastern Kentucky. I could be wrong on that. But Logan Woodside, there was a lot of buzz around Logan Woodside. And I'm actually surprised he fell to round 7. I thought he was going to be a round 5, early round 6 guy, but he fell to round 7, and I think that's just incredible value. I think he could come in and maybe be a solid backup quarterback for Andy Dalton. Now, size is somewhat of an issue, but when you look at Woodside's kind of body at work at Toledo and throughout his college career, you can tell this guy's a successful quarterback, and he does have a lot of traits that coaches would love to work with. Now, I cannot wait to see what he does in preseason. And then the last guy I want to talk about is wide receiver Auden Tate from Florida State. Now, this is a guy who is extremely, extremely raw. Okay, this is another guy who I thought was going to go a lot earlier than the 7th round. But he was in the 7th round, he was available, and the Bengals snagged him. Okay, and this is a guy who's going to be a huge red zone threat for the Bengals. Okay, maybe, hopefully, can take over that number 2 role. And I don't know if the Bengals still have Brandon LaFell, but Auden Tate, keep an eye on him in preseason. This is a guy who can shock a lot of people. If coached correctly, Auden Tate can be an amazing, amazing wide receiver. Now, he does have some drop issues. I understand that. But with NFL coaches pushing him every day, working with A.J. Green, working with Andy Dalton, the best quarterback he's ever played with, I believe Auden Tate can really blossom into a really, really good wide receiver. Now, he does have the body of a tight end, but overall, Auden Tate in the 7th round, that is just incredible value. So that pretty much wraps it up. So Baltimore, Cincinnati, my hat goes off to you guys. Incredible draft classes. They did a beautiful job setting up this team for the now and for the future. So overall, amazing classes. So let me know down in the comments section who you guys thought won the draft, and for that matter, lost the draft as well. I know I didn't really cover the losers of the draft, but yeah, I guess only time will tell on that. So let me know down in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, go Jets.